Welcome to the MadTrio podcast. This week we have the California Pariah, Jonathan Charney, James, the Fat Man Stevens,
hello,
and Rob, the old guy.
The old guy's here.
Unfortunately, this week we are missing the creepy edition. Ryan Preston is not here. Hopefully he'll join us next week after our small hiatus.
Hiatus.
Close enough.
Hiatus is something completely different.
Like I said, close enough. In 2015, a British filmmaker, Charlie Lynn, L-Y-N-E, made the British Film Board watch a 10-plus hour long video of white paint drying on a wall. This was done by him as a protest against the mandatory fee of £6,000 that all filmmakers have to submit to get a rating from the board before releasing it to the general public.
what?
Okay, that's Britain.
Yeah. That's Britain.
That's Britain.
That's why I said
So
pounds.
they just had them sit there and watch paint dry.
Yeah, 'cause
They had to watch it to make sure they could get a appropriate rating for it.
had to have enough hours of viewerships.
I thought the ultimate act of malicious compliance was forcing them to, watch something by their rules.
Okay.
No?
James is okay. I gotta agree with him. It's like,
How much were they paid?
£6,000, which is probably 12,000. I'm assuming it's either between $12,000 or $8,000 US.
Now go back. How many hours did they watch this?
A 10-hour.
I'd do it.
I mean, yeah.
as long as you can look at your phone or do something else. Why?
No. You actually have to sit there and watch paint dry. This is the whole thing. It's like the bet I took a long time
you gotta
ago
just stare at the screen.
with a guy who told me that he would buy me sushi if I sat down and watched a Star Wars Christmas special from start to finish without getting up, without going to the bathroom, without eating anything, without playing on my phone, without any interruption for the entirety of the Star Wars Christmas special and not turn it off.
Were you allowed to guffaw?
You can do whatever, laugh or pay attention. But as long as you're paying attention.
Because not
You had to
laughing,
pay attention.
not laughing
And-
would be impossible.
And I mean, he obviously had to buy me sushi, but apparently I was the first person he had put this challenge to who actually did it. But I'm just like, yes, it was absolutely terrible. Lucas doesn't even put his name to it anymore. As far as the Star Wars fans, it's the one that shall never be named. Even Mark Hamill hates it. I mean, everybody hates it, but I mean, it was
terrible.
But it was free food.
Well, I mean, for you, that's
sushi,
perfectly
yeah.
fine.
I was like, okay, I've seen worse.
True.
That's what I told him. I have seen worse. This is not the worst thing that I've sat for. I think that was only. I don't remember how long the Star Wars Christmas special is. It's like about 90 minutes or so. It wasn't very long.
I can vouch for James seeing worse. He watched all 7 Phantasms in a matter of 72 hours.
Yeah, it probably was 72 hours. But whatever. And speaking of Star Wars Christmas special, so did you see the season finale of The Mandalorian?
Yes.
I know what happens.
John?
Yes.
I know what happens because
obviously
social
John
media.
knows what happens. He's Mr. King. I read spoilers.
Yeah.
Actually, it was a social media. I ran into it going, crap.
You ran into it, huh?
So now,
Yeah, go ahead.
Mark Hamill posted tweets about how he was very happy to see fans' reactions and all this stuff about it, and that he was really grateful to the the directors and producers and everything about it. But other than his voice, it wasn't like he was actually there.
Well,
I mean, it was CGI.
obviously it's full-blown CGI because he couldn't have looked that young no matter what he tried.
Or that skinny. Let's be honest. He's a man. He's
all right.
Yeah,
he's got the dad bod
come
thing
on.
going on.
By the way, nothing wrong with it. He just could not get that skinny in real life.
No, it wouldn't be possible. I mean, so yeah, I don't know how I feel about that, to be honest with you, because I looked at that last. There was I had another problem with the whole, Mando wanting to, it took off his helmet for that whole thing, and it's like.
But did anybody see him?
Yes, of course, everybody saw him, and they've been doing that.
Everybody saw him.
They were the couple episodes leading up to it. He was taking it off more and more, and
that must be because the actor threw a pissy fit. Apparently,
well, he did. I mean, you weren't totally wrong with that assumption. He apparently said he's the main character in this whole thing, and nobody knows what he looks like.
But he's not the voice actor.
Star Wars.
I know, right?
Is he the voice actor though?
No,
I've heard he's not the voice actor either. Is it?
No, he's the voice actor. That's him.
Yeah, he's the voice actor.
That's him. Yeah. And so he really, in his, towards the end there, he says, I need to get my face seen. And no offense to him, but he's not a model.
So,
I mean, he's not that good looking, and it's a little bit like,
so
what a disappointment, right?
I do have a question though. How did they do it in the universe? Because in the universe, if I remember correctly, they're allowed to take off their helmet if nobody else sees them. If nobody else
sees him, or he's with his own. Okay, they all have to be, the Mandalorians have to be together.
Yeah, have to be the same branch of Mandalorian. Now, but did he do it around other people?
But Fett never took off his helmet. I mean, never. It was never taken off. So it was like.
Well, the reason I'm saying that is because within the story it fits. Or did they just remove it around a bunch of people and everybody saw his face? Because then that would piss me off, and I won't watch the rest of it.
He's shedding his heartfelt, tearing moments about it at the end. That's why he took it off, was for Baby Yoda. I can't think of his name right now. Grogu or something like that.
Some weird name.
Why did he die?
No, he actually has a name.
Oh,
He was going with Luke, so he was leaving the Mandalorian. But it's Star Wars.
Right.
Did you ever know what Anthony Daniels looked like?
No.
Kenny Baker?
No.
Peter Matthews?
No, none of them. And I didn't want to know, right?
Yeah.
Because that was all part of the mystique of the whole thing, is that...
Yeah, that's kind of why I'm like, dude, people at least know your name because it's in the credits as the star.
Right.
So be happy with that. They want to know what you look like. There's this thing called the internet.
That's right.
I am surprised that how he threw a hissy fit. And my favorite part is that somewhere I read last year, he said he's going to quit if he doesn't get his face shown. And my thought was, it's a win for the studio because they could fire you, replace you, and still nobody knows who you are.
Yeah.
Well, we know the voice pretty well now. And
anyways.
They could write it off. He got a cold. He got his larynx crushed.
Yeah, true. There's always ways it's
within the Star Wars universe. There's so many ways that you can go with it.
You could go with one of those things that people put on their trachs.
Yeah, voice box.
Yeah,
because they have those in the Star Wars universe.
Yeah. So
do any of you guys do any of you guys know who Bob Wilkins is?
Well, there's probably a ton of Bob Wilkinses.
Well, in the Northern California region, there was something called Bob's Wilkins Creature Feature. This isn't something I heard about until a couple of days ago.
So it was a TV show?
So it was back in the day, after a certain point of time around Sacramento, California, we're in Northern California, after the news, Creature Feature turned on.
Okay.
And they showed the old fashioned, the mummy creature, the verse of the Black Lagoon.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And I was thinking, because this wasn't around that I remember as a kid. And James might have experienced this. Was this something that was around when you were younger in Southern California? Were they these Creature Features type of late night shows?
Sure, absolutely. Midnight.
I've heard of them.
Well, don't forget about the most famous Elvira.
Oh, Mistress of the Dark.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, absolutely. And you look at Danny
Coker.
Yeah, Danny Coker in Las Vegas.
He played Count Cool Rider there in Las Vegas.
Right. I mean, so every area had their, like you called it, creature feature, midnight, whatever. For us, for me when I was a kid, it was Elvira. I mean, which I'm barely.
Yeah, I knew of it. I can't say I've ever watched it because, obviously, as I'm looking this up, it seemed the Creature Features, which you're talking about, stopped in '83, so I was only 2. It was not something I was watching or aware of. So,
oh Lord, does that make me feel old?
And so this guy and I were talking about why couldn't they do that now? And I said, well, they do that with Mystery Science Theater 3000 and Riff Tracks. but that's more making fun of it. And,
Right.
and he said, so what about just doing it regular, like doing it off of like a streaming service? I said, you have, there's the issues with rights, but I'm surprised that nobody's done that, at least in our area or in some sort of cable where somebody brings back these old, like even the 70s and all that.
So part of the problem, I think, one is that what the heck are you going to show? What movies are you going to now? Modern today, everything is just blood and guts and gore and ucky, and I mean, so the nice thing about creature feature style type things Elvira did, things that Danny Coker did, things that these were so B class horror movies that none of them were any extreme violence, or everything was made for your imagination,
tongue in cheek too.
Yeah,
and tongue in cheek, some of it. I remember one of the things we looked forward to, so exciting about, was The Birds, when Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds was going to be on television and in black and white in my house. And I remember how, hey, got to stay up to watch this thing. This is cool. It's The Birds. Now, ask me how disappointed I was after the movie. That's a different story. But the fun part was, you got the girlfriend to come over and watch it with you, and so that made it all worth it.
See, I think they could still do it, but I think you're right. I don't think the audience would be there, but
yeah, it just seems like we have gone so extreme with everything now, and all the slasher movies. And
I think you could do if you really wanted to do it and have about the same level of like relevance, I think you could go from late to mid 80s and back and have some of the same campiness, or even I said like 93 and back, because you still have like Trauma. You have all these guys doing these super B-rated, super questionable movies. I'm a big fan of black and white. That's the only reason I wish this stuff was still around. But I just thought it was awesome that was something that everybody had, because I've never heard of Bob Wilkins. Apparently he broadcasted off of KCRA in the local Sacramento market and somewhere off the Bay Area.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I found him, but I mean, I think it'd be something kind of cool, but it's just one of those that I can't see it being that big of a hit. I mean, I would like it to be, but it doesn't. I doubt it.
No,
I really doubt it.
Yeah, I think it would get panned, because I don't think the Gen Xers and all those, I don't think they'd understand what it is we were trying to do with this whole thing. I don't think they get it.
Yeah.
I think
maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm not giving him enough credit, but I think
if you did it off a Twitch stream or one of these streaming services, I think you could do it, because they would be able to find their market. I think if you pick your alphabet network in a market like Los Angeles or even here, I don't think it would make it. I think online would totally work it if you could give somebody, if the studios would let somebody have the rights to do it. I think it would make it.
I don't even know.
Yeah, I'm with you, James. I'm not so sure.
So we're going to switch to a
I'm
little
not
bit.
convinced.
We have a victim of the COVID, allegedly.
Who's we?
And we as a society are mourning this particular celebrity. And unfortunately, she is not a survivor. Gilligan's Island actress Dawn Wells passed away from COVID.
Yeah, she did.
Allegedly with Tanya Roberts. I just read.
She's alive.
Yeah, I just read that just a second ago.
Yeah. Tanya Roberts is alive.
Which I was really sad about that. It's
miscommunication.
That
was even on IMDb. That was
everybody, jumped on it, and nobody vetted it, and then the relatives went, "Wait a minute, she's very much alive."
And I don't know if anybody's going to know this unless you're a fan of this particular series of movies. Breakin' star Shabba-Doo died.
Shabba-Doo.
Breakin' Electric Boogaloo was a breakdancing movie. If you've never seen it, it's hilarious. I like it. It's a good movie, but it was just sad to hear like so many celebrities and people who I enjoyed growing up passing away, especially doing this year.
It doesn't, it hasn't helped anything. Let's just put it this way, being in a COVID year as it is. And unfortunately, some of these people that are not very healthy end up with it as well. And they go away, and they're going away anyway. So sorry. I'm just glad that Tanya Roberts is still alive.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised because she's not really in the limelight. I think the last role I saw her in was that 70s show.
Yeah, that's apparently pretty much the last thing she really did. But that doesn't matter. I mean, the point is she's 68.
She looks amazing for that age.
Oh, she looks great. And so she's my age. So that's not that old.
No.
Even if I go by the old guy.
Oh.
Sorry.
Here, this is a story that I particularly was saving.
Oh, good. This is a saved one.
Just because I think this is hilarious, I wish we had a lady guest host. Man gives wife annual review grading her performance, including bedroom skills. And this is off the mirror.co.uk.
Oh, go back to England again. So
a husband has gone viral after taking his wife of 14 years on a Christmas do and giving her an annual review. Chris Stairs took full-time mom Sophie out for a pub lunch where he presented her with 2-page document grading on her performance in their marriage as if he were her employer. So I said on Facebook, every woman I know would have laid him out for this. Even jokingly, I don't know any woman, at least American woman, would have been acceptable of this.
Actually, this is not the first time this kind of thing has come across our news readers, and anyway, it doesn't usually go over very well unless you've got a good sense of humor about it.
The father of 5 wrapped up his jaw-dropping
the
review.
father of 5. Okay, then her skills in one area can't be so bad.
Yeah, he's not complaining.
Yeah, exactly.
Father of 5 wrapped up his jaw-dropping review with a performance improvement plan, which encourages wife to acknowledge that sometimes husbands are right, too. Not after this one, pal.
Whoa.
Sophie, 38, has since joked that her partner was wise to do the review in public. She continued to say that she was flattered to see that she'd been graded excellent on certain topics. Chris, 39, didn't go into too much detail about the review, but revealed he was very complimentary of his wife's skills in bed. I thought this was hilarious just because it's like, this can't be real, right?
Yeah, well.
I think it's an interesting move. Probably not his smartest move. And I wouldn't suspect that he would be married much longer.
Yeah. Well, apparently she must have had a pretty good sense of humor. So we'll just.
I do love the comment. He was wise to do it in public because I could see him going to work the next day. They said, "Hey, what's with the black eye? Are you okay?" No, please don't mention it.
He'd be lucky if he just got a black eye.
Yeah.
You know, here, and this is off this topic exactly, because there's only so much that we can say about it. There is a Discovery show that Paul and I have been binging. It's called Escape to the Chateau. And it's a funny headline that just came across my phone. Anyway, it's called Escape from the Chateau. This British couple, and they're kind of eclectic, retired Irish military officer. Lieutenant Colonel, I think he's retired, is some kind of engineer, and his wife was a designer. Bought a French chateau, which was basically just ready to fall down everywhere, and they just decided, okay, we're going to pick up and move to France, and we're going to try to revive the chateau, and it's 40 some rooms, and it's pretty big. They got a lot of ground, and I got to tell you, it's binge worthy. I mean, they're so eclectic and funny that you can't help but enjoy the show. So
I guess my question is, what type of reality show style? Is it like American reality style where there are always arguments, or is it actually kind of a documentary where they're fun and doing stuff? Or
a little of both. Yeah, they don't really argue. They get their. I don't know how long they've been married. I don't think they've been married very, very long, but they have a couple of younger kids. He's older than she is. But anyway, yeah. And
it looks good. The place, I pulled it up on IMDb, and they got a couple of pictures of the chateau. It looks really nice.
It does. There are areas
really cool.
of it. She's, I got to tell you, her ability to come up with ideas on designs, and her taste is very eclectic, but fantastic. She comes up with things like I'm going, I would never think to do something like she likes, like, she's a little bit different. She likes taxidermy. So she, and there's a lot of taxidermy in Europe, very common thing. And so she does a lot of things. Every window's usually got to stuff something.
She's a redneck's dream.
I tell you what, I'm absolutely in love with this couple. I mean, they are hysterical. He's got the best sense of humor. I mean, she comes off with the crazy, we got to do this, we got to do that. And he just, sometimes he'll turn around and look right into the camera. He'll just give this look like, okay, here we go. Yes, dear, I'll do whatever it is you wish to do. And it's funny. It's binge worthy. If you guys just want something to watch that's fun and no COVID stuff, nothing, this is all before that. Just kind of watch how different this couple is and how much effort they're putting in to restore this chateau.
I bet it's 40 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms.
Pretty close. You're pretty close. Yeah. So one of the things they did I thought was great. I had seen this elevator before. Have you ever seen a vacuum elevator? It's pneumatic. It's called a pneumatic elevator.
I've heard of them, but never seen them.
The first time I ever saw one was when is it Ice-T? Does that remodel TV show? I think it is.
Ice-T? I know Vanilla Ice does one.
It's Vanilla Ice. I'm sorry. Not Ice-T. Vanilla Ice.
Yeah, it's the ding-ding-ding-ding-ding.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I got the wrong, everything was wrong about that one.
Got the
I
wrong
apologize.
ice.
Yeah, I got the wrong ice. But anyway, it's this elevator, and they make them actually big enough for 3 people now. It's basically a plexiglass tube that you go into, and to get up to the next floor, it starts a vacuum, and it just goes up to the next floor, keeps going. And the one that they put in the chateau goes up 3 stories.
Oh, geez.
It's pretty ingenious. It really is.
Apparently, they're treating it like a piece of mail. But what happens if the suck doesn't suck as much? Does it just?
I don't know. It's a good question. I'm sure they have some safety features built into it. But the guy that on the show, he demonstrated how a pneumatic tube works, and he got a clear plastic tube, and he got his vacuum cleaner, and he stuck this piece of paper in there. Here, this is how it works. He showed how it worked. He said, "This is basically what we're going to be." And I'll be darned, the things work really well, and I guess they're pretty safe. So, anyway,
there's something we could have Ryan's dad on about, because I mean, he worked on elevators for 30-something years.
There you go. We'll have to pull that up and see if he wants to talk about pneumatic elevators if they're safe.
One of the few things that sucking is a good thing.
Yes, exactly. So anyway, that's my little 2 bits for it, because it's fun. Oh. It's just fun to watch these series, and I am so impressed with their skills. He's obviously an engineer. He does everything like an engineer would do stuff, so he approaches it from that angle, and so it's a lot of fun.
I think it's how eclectic between you and I are. I've been watching old British. It's called British Pathe, Pathe on YouTube, and they have this the restaurants, and this was taken probably back in the 60s, because it's color film, like newsreel back in the day. And this guy will take their beer or their wine, get a hot poker, and stick it in the beer or wine.
To heat it up?
To heat up a little bit of it. Yeah. And
why?
I don't know. It sounds gross. And like,
I thought you were watching it. You must know. There must be a reason.
And I'm assuming back in the day it was an in thing. It just looks gross.
Let's warm up our warm beer
or wine, yeah. And like the cool thing about this thing is on this one episode, they had it looked like a butcher shop. So you could actually say, I want this piece, and this piece. And the guy actually weighs it with the old school weights and measures.
Right.
And it's like, man, like back in the day, like all these really neat kind of restaurants.
There was a restaurant in San Francisco that Paul and I would go to occasionally that pretty much did the same thing. The first thing you walk into is a butcher counter, and you select your cut of meat.
Beef, steak, pork,
whatever. I mean, whatever you want, it's right there. And you select the cut. If you want them to cut it specialized, they would. Man, I'll tell you what, they were Ruth Crisps before Ruth Crisps was with Ruth Crisps. Does that make any sense? But it's the same kind of idea. I think it was called Phil Air's Steakery. in San Francisco. I don't know that they're there anymore, but I'll tell you what, one of the best dining experience there is, just like you're explaining, you come up to a butcher counter first.
I think that is really neat.
Yeah.
I love the fact that, back in the day, there weren't an Applebee's in every corner.
Yeah. What's really neat
like
about
that.
it is you could get meats that you don't see every day. You could get lamb. You could get, there were different cuts of meats that you don't see every day on these commercial restaurants menus.
Because they couldn't afford to have all this stuff around if it wasn't such a boutique restaurant.
Right.
I just think that's pretty badass. I really do.
Yeah, neat. Really neat. Now they give all these restaurants plugs that you can't go into.
Or they haven't been around.
Or they're closed already. Excuse me. That's my COVID.
So I've got a bunch of stories, and I'm just trying to figure out which one I want to do. There's one that I thought was fascinating. Who was this? Okay, I'm never going to get this guy's name right. So there's a guy that called the Tampon King in India, was trying to figure out how to make fairly inexpensive lady products, because apparently the price, you could either get these products or feed your family for a month. So this guy figured out, after his everybody is like in his area, shunning him. Even his wife kicked him out of the house for a while because she thought it was weird. But 14 years later, the 40-year-old the man never finished school, has few regrets. His award-winning products produced on a simple machines on groups of rural India. So basically, he figured out how to make these products super cheap.
I think I heard about this guy.
Super cheap, using manual equipment.
Yeah.
And actually provided people a way to make money. Mm-hmm. And he's being praised for it. Now, this is from the independent.co.uk.
You should be praised for it.
I thought this was awesome.
Yeah.
Trying to figure out exactly what the machines were, but there is a hell of a lot of pop-ups on this site for some reason. Just something I thought I thought deserved a shout out, because it's not something you hear about in rural India, in parts of Africa, wanting his machines that make clean products for that stuff.
Right. Well, good. That good on him.
Here we go. In 2005, his 7-year effort was recognized when he handed the National Innovation Foundation Award by President Patil, Patil. He then quickly patented his machine, which costs between 850 and 3,400 pounds, is capable of producing 120 pads an hour, where companies as Procter & Gamble produced products that sell up to 30 rupees or 33p a pack. So apparently the part that caught me the most was the expense of it. Like in the article that talks about that you could either feed the family or buy those products.
Right.
A good friend of mine goes down to Nicaragua a couple of times a year. He hasn't done it this year, thankfully, because he's up there in age. And he mentioned to me at one point in time, he said, $100 can feed a family, a fairly large family, for quite a bit of money.
Wait a minute. Try that again. For quite a bit of money?
I knew what he meant.
Yeah,
that's not what you meant.
Yeah,
try it again.
$100. Yeah, $100. Rewind. I need that sound effect. So $100 can feed a fairly large family for a month.
Yeah,
and get them basic. It's you're not eating like Taco Bell, but it's rice, beans, some meat, maybe. So the reason why this drew my the eye was just the price of things, and I always find it interesting, because if you read about third world countries and first world countries, is the difference in products and the difference in prices. Even medication here, for some reason, that costs a fortune. Sometimes those areas are cheaper because all the R&D is done here and paid for here. Yeah. So I just thought that was interesting. James, you got something?
Nothing really. There's been nothing of
you can see we prepare for the show.
I can
spend hours getting ready. No, I'm sorry.
I can keep going.
I had something, but I wanted Brian around for it.
Okay, well.
And since he's a flake, so
we can wait.
Don't
burn it up. We're going to need something next week. So
hold. You can hold that. I'll talk about. So I recently was able to find an Xbox Series X. Excuse me. If you don't know, the S is the all digital, requires a bandwidth. There's no CD drive. The X has the DVD CD drive.
So you didn't want the DVD drive?
I wanted the DVD drive.
Oh,
So I
you
got
did
the
want
X. That's why I'm like, oops, I got the wrong one. It's 9.6 pounds.
Yeah, you told me how heavy it is. Now, what do you mean you got the wrong one? I mean, doesn't it do what the other one does anyway?
Well, excuse me, I said the wrong one. The
okay.
Xbox Series X is the one I wanted because I'm on Comcast and I don't currently pay for the unlimited data plan.
Yeah, rub it in.
Well, you have unlimited data, right? Because I've hit the
cap. Yeah, I do, but it's a fortune, and I don't get your speeds.
Well, I would rather not be paying up to $100 for going over my limit.
Well, true, which is ridiculous.
So, because I still like purchasing games. Plus, the fact I actually enjoy selling them back. If it's not something I want to keep.
Who buys them back anymore?
GameStop is still around. What's going to happen after GameStop is curious. I'm not sure. I guess I would have to do eBay or get one of those Amazon accounts.
Yeah.
So I bought Cyberpunk 2077, the one that the Keanu Reeves, the big highlight was Keanu Reeves in it. And it's partially an advertisement of him because one of the characters drives an ARC motorcycle, which is his motorcycle company, Arch Motorcycles. That's his company.
Keanu, now I know he's a big Norton motorcycle fan.
He has, look it up on YouTube. He has motorcycles. It's called Arch Motorcycles, Arch Motorsports, something like that. And they're completely bespoke motorcycles. I think they're like 75 to 80 grand a piece, but they're made per the person.
Well, I'll tell you what, he's been riding motorcycles his whole life. And if I took as many bad spills as he's done, I don't think I'd be riding my bike still. He may be on one like mine soon.
That'd be funny. So it's just, you see sad Keanu on one of those.
Man, he's supposedly a nice guy.
He's supposedly one of the nicer guys in Hollywood.
Yeah.
But the funniest thing about this game is you keep hearing how glitchy it was. And I haven't had any funny glitches, but there are some weird experiences. Apparently you can have sex in this game, which I accidentally found.
Oh, yeah, right.
No, seriously.
Yeah. Laura, look at this. Look what we did.
No, it was more like...
Kids asleep.
It's more like, what the fuck? No. So what happened is I walked up to the person and said, oh, okay, a dialogue box. I could click, and I just kept hitting X to see what happened. The next thing I know, there's full-on coitus. Like, fuck, no. And this is the same game that when you're setting up the character, you can give
He's sitting there covering his son's eyes.
No, it was actually what happened. I'm like,
Daddy.
I actually... He came walking up. I actually had to turn the game off. And in this game, when you're setting up the character, you can give your character a schwanz.
Oh, great.
So it was like the crying game scene when I'm like, what's this? Oh my God. But it's a fun game because I've been screwing around with it, but I do recommend if anybody has an Xbox One, don't get it unless you like 2 to 5 minute loading times. The loading times in this game were insane. It's a lot of fun. I actually think if you ever get a Series X, you would enjoy it just because I've been slaughtering gang members. Like I haven't really gone through the plot. I've just been screwing around killing people. Because it actually tells you like there's little things above the people's heads and it lets you know who's okay to kill without getting in trouble. But yeah, I thought it was funny because I after the fact I was laughing at the fact I had a GTA moment. I didn't know it existed in the game. Because I remember when GTA came out, that was the thing that everybody said was on the third one, dude, you can have sex with hookers and then you can rob their money from them. You gave them. I was not expecting this like I was expecting that.
Jeez.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm kind of burned out on it. There's been like no games that I'm jumping at the bit to be playing these days.
Yeah, no, I can see that. I mean, I still love gaming. So for me, it was a couple of reasons. It came with like an HD, what do you call it? What's the 4K? It comes with a UHD drive. I forgot the actual name of it. What's the name of the 4K discs? Is it still Blu-ray?
Yeah, I think it is.
It's the high definitions Blu-ray.
4K.
Okay.
And so
whatever is 4K nowadays.
Yeah, well, it's UHD. I guess that's because there's
ultra and high definition. Yeah,
because there's HD, which is high definition, and there's UHD, ultra high definition, and allegedly there's more than that, but ultra high definition. I enjoy it. Allegedly, there's going to be coming. Allegedly, I just saw a teaser for a new Elder Scrolls. Hopefully, it's not an online game because that one sucked.
So, Rob.
Yes.
Ryan just said that he did just get out of a meeting
Yeah.
that was about the lack of storage for all this goddamn COVID bullshit.
Oh,
That's a quote from Ryan. So they're in a meeting discussing it.
what they're going to do?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I don't think they have a plan yet. So
Oh boy, it's not good down there right now. It's not.
no.
So I wonder if there's like a Crystal ice cream factory or something down there that's not really producing much, if they're just going to start sticking them in professional freezers. And I don't even mean to be morbid, but I'm being legit.
What I hear is probably going to happen is the military is going to be bringing in refrigeration trucks. And just start bringing them in as much as they can. And unfortunately, for short times anyway, let's hope it's short times, that the bodies are going to have to be stored there.
I wonder if they're just going to fast track processing and just say, okay, these are being, and I don't know how you would actually get away with it.
Well, here's the problem, too.
Gonna,
I mean, not only do we have the storage once they immediately die, but there's all the question of is how long do they stay? I think Ryan talked about it. How long do they stay contagious after their death? How are the bodies having to be handled? How fast can a mortuary handle, if these are people that have plans that, hey, I'm going to be buried or I'm going to be cremated, or there's that problem.
Well, that's what I'm wondering, if they're just going to fast track it and say, okay, everybody here is being cremated. And you'd have some legal framework and issues to go around legally. But I wonder if they're going to say, okay, after COVID, if it's if it's an actual COVID, not one of these allegedly COVID cases that you've been hearing about this last year, they're just going to say, okay, you're going to go straight from here B to the.
I'd have a problem with that. If people want to be buried, that's their right. That's a decision. You take that away. I've got it in my will.
I don't know how they would do it, but it's the only thing I could see, or it would have to be something that the family up front from the hospitals to say, okay, what is it? If something happens, they're going to have to know right away so they can fast track the people that want to be cremated.
I don't know what's going to happen, and heaven forbid, if things get any worse as it is down there. Maybe finally people are going to take this serious and go, hey, maybe this will be the wake-up call that the nation needs a little bit. And if
I doubt it.
You're right, but at some point in time, I mean, the story I came across today, I wanted to bring that up. I forgot all about it. It was talking about, I guess it was a hospital Christmas party. Hospital, mind you, nurses, doctors, medical professionals. Apparently, they all grouped together down there, and like the 45 of them all of a sudden all came down with COVID. And apparently it came down to some kind of inflatable Santa Claus or something people were hugging, and it was like,
oh God,
are you guys kidding me? I mean, you're medical professionals, and you went and just did what you're telling everybody else not to do. And
there was a big party. There was a big New Year's Eve party somewhere in Sacramento or one of the outlying areas that apparently,
Bay.
Yeah, they had a giant party with issues.
Well, we don't know what's going to come of this, but exactly what the doctors have been talking about between Thanksgiving and Christmas, that we're going to see a spike in cases because families are just ignoring the rules.
So here's actually something that worries me. I recently saw something that one of the laws got passed was Board of Supervisor. Recently in the state of California, mind you, this is only for Cali. A Board of Supervisors can override or watch sheriffs. So I wonder if this is something now that between that and the state is going to go, okay, sheriffs, if you're not willing to enforce the laws, we're going to do A, B, and C, which include removing your they could do something like that.
So that's the one law enforcement entity in the country that is constitutionally protected. The sheriffs. They are elected. They're elected officials, and they do not answer to anybody but themselves. Now, where does a Board of Supervisors have power with a sheriff's department? With the purse strings.
Yeah.
So the budget is always controlled by a Board of Supervisors. So that is an area where they can say, hey, if you don't do X, Y, Z, we're going to cut funding for, whatever else it may be. I suppose that's always a possibility. But other than that, they cannot force a sheriff to start, just like our sheriff here in El Dorado County. He says, we're not mask police. We're not party police. We want our citizens to do everything that's right. And we might advise them, but they're not going to go around and, give any kind of fines or write any kind of tickets or anything.
So a couple of things. One, what could the governor do? Could he declare like a true state of emergency? I forgot what the actual term is that the president can. That basically gives them superpowers,
they have
superseded powers.
Mm-hmm. They've got I think it's called state of emergencies.
I thought what's it? I've got the term, but they always say the president can declare this and then can become permanent dictator because they said it about Trump. They said it about Obama. I just forgot the word. Do you remember, James?
Or you can be permanent dictator?
Yeah, basically it says it's like it's a certain word. You're declaring a state of emergency.
Yeah.
I forgot the exact word. So he basically can supersede constitutionality.
I know what you're talking about. I've drawn a mental blank too.
You know what I mean, though.
I know exactly what you mean.
So could he declare that martial law? Mm-hmm. Could the Newsom declare martial law and say, okay, for the next month, nobody's allowed to leave their house. Everybody, and do basically what Italy did.
And find out who, and so, I believe he can. And if things get as crazy in the rest of the state as it is down there, it could very well happen. But so then the question is who's going to enforce it? And
it would have to be the National Guard because you can't federally have troops do it.
Correct. It would have to be the National Guard and the California Highway Patrol. They're the state police. So now that's who he controls.
So I'm just kind of wondering if that's what you do now. I don't know if California Governor Newsom would do it or not.
I believe he'd do it in a heartbeat if it got to that point.
You think he would do it?
I think he would, yeah.
Now, how bad, James or Rob, do you think it would have to get before he did that? Do you think it'd have to get worse now? Do you think this is like, a couple of or I mean, what do you think it would take for him to say blank?
Let's look at worst case scenario. So we got a new strain of the virus, and everybody knew there was going to be mutations of this virus, and viruses just mutate. It's just a fact of life, and it's the way it is. So let's say this new strain is highly contagious, which apparently when it was first detected in Britain, that was what they were saying. It was that it's considerably more contagious, which is not a good thing. So where you get your medical facilities are so strained at such a level that they cannot keep up with the intake of people. And that could be, statewide. We'd have a major problem.
Aren't we at that point getting close now?
So if you look at the way the state of California is handling the different zones,
the tiers.
They've broken the tier zones, whatever you want to call them in California. So, yes, there are certain hot spots that seem to have problems. However, I was reading today, especially when it comes to things like ventilators, you keep hearing about, there's not enough ventilators. Well, that apparently is not true. We've apparently have tens of thousands of excess ventilators sitting around just waiting in case this happens. And certain areas, like if you take the Sacramento area, they've opened up, I believe it's still open, things like the old Arco Arena, Sleep Train Arena, and they turned it into a big COVID facility, and it's sitting there just waiting for intakes. And so I think throughout the state you have numerous different locations like that ready to go in case things get really out of hand. And it could. I mean, I hate to say it because, we still have the deniers out there. We still have people not doing what they need to do. I still go shopping for food. I'm paying attention to the stay-at-home order as much as I can to go shopping for food. You go to a grocery store and there's still people running around without masks on. And kind of like, okay, well,
the mask thing kind of surprises me because like, even if you don't believe it's that big of a deal, I don't understand the inconvenience of masks. And I'm saying this guy is somebody who's an asthmatic, who the masks do actually affect to some degree. So that kind of surprises me. I double mask. I wear a buff and I wear a normal cloth mask because I can't find a mask that fits my fucking face.
Yeah, I have the same problem with the masks. So there's only certain ones that fit comfortably, and then don't steam up your glasses too, right? And then so yeah, so we have a local hardware store that I go to occasionally, which I'm not going to as much as I used to, because literally the whole store, every employee, not one wears a mask. Not one. It's the store, you don't have to, you don't want to. So I'm sure many of the employees feel a little bit of pressure because their other employees aren't wearing masks. And they're going to be one of these businesses. All it's going to take is one person walking in with COVID and the whole thing, they're all going to get it.
See, that surprises me to some degree, maybe because I've never really cared. Like, you couldn't pressure me not to wear a mask. Like, you could pressure me to wear a mask, but I just, the whole thing just kind of blows me, especially at a business. I don't know. The whole thing just surprises me.
I know, but it's a little bit like, and James knows this or so, it's a little bit like the restaurants that aren't taking it seriously either.
Hey, have any of you guys heard, if any of those restaurants that have done that and gotten caught, do any of them sell alcohol, and did the licensing of said body decide to remove that license?
I do not know.
So apparently the Apple Bistro in Camino, and then, this is a worldwide show, but our little local area. The ABC was going to serve a warrant onto this Apple Bistro. I think we talked about this.
But did they remove the license at all? Because they don't need to actually show up to revoke the license.
So apparently there is some stipulations where they actually have to come and serve a warrant to shut you down.
Oh, wow. Okay. Then I've seen that in person.
So, yeah. So with that happening, they couldn't get, they came to the sheriff's department and said, okay, we need to serve this warrant. We want you to, your deputies to go serve it. Nope, sorry, we're not going to do it. It finally came to, they got down to California Highway Patrol, asked them to come up and serve this warrant. They apparently got there and felt, I guess the officers felt that there's something very wrong about this song, and they didn't serve the warrant.
So why doesn't the Alcoholic Beverage Control have their own enforcement body?
They do.
So and I've actually seen this in person, because I didn't know it was a requirement. So it's basically like serving a warrant or writ or whatever. So the story I remember, there used to be a coffee shop near where I used to live that I loved. And this guy with this little tiny Redicop badge, it was literally like maybe 1.5 inches to 2 inches wide by 1.5 inches to 2 inches wide. And he said, as of this point in time, at this day, and yada, yada, you are officially no longer allowed to serve alcohol, yada, yada, give it all now type of thing. And the thing I remember is this little girl, because she maybe might have turned 18, was freaked out. And the manager came to the rescue and took all the wine home. But I didn't realize that they had to do that. I thought they could just say, do like the insurance does with it, like with fire insurance. I know a number of people have gotten the Dear John letter on that.
Yeah, no, this is entirely different.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So basically, any restaurant that goes against these orders, in order to remove at least their liquor license, they have to be. What about the restaurant license or the business license? Or can they pull any of that without that?
So that comes down to the county health departments. And so the question also is the county health departments, I'm not sure what enforcement level they have. I mean, they issue a health, a license to operate, that they've been inspected by the health department and they meet the standards. Now, can they do something other than what their mandate is? Like, oh, okay, you're not wearing masks or you're serving indoor. I don't think they can.
James, is there anything? I mean, you're in the industry. Is there anything that they could do on a state or federal level to a restaurant?
Not really. No, I mean, as far as what I know is that it has to come from the county health inspector. The health inspector has to come down, and then they can remove the licenses, and that's it.
Yeah, but they can't. For instance, there's nothing that I know of in California law for the health and welfare or whatever they work under, as far as the county health inspector goes, that covers a pandemic or covers masks covers.
There's really nothing that they can do.
Right.
They can just say that we can revoke your health license. That's all they can do. But even still with that, it's like they can't just come down and shut the restaurant down.
Could
they can't do it.
Could they declare it
they literally cannot do that.
Could they declare it like a blight or one of those laws in a weird way?
No,
you could find you could find an attorney to do anything. All right. So it comes down to county council. I suppose of every county that might say, you know what, we're going to enforce some weird law that was put in 1897 that says we have something to do. But really, the health departments, there's nothing in it that covers a pandemic as far as I know. If there's rat droppings and cockroaches everywhere, it's a different story.
So the only way really to do it somehow, and this would be on a federal level, would be via the IRS. Would have to figure out how to find, you'd have to make the laws, because this is so far out of anything anybody ever thought of.
Yeah, they would have to, they would have to create new laws, but then, they'd
have to make it retroactive.
I
don't know.
It'd be such a mess to enforce this stuff. It's terrible.
And that's the problem. People have got to take responsibility for themselves. And if things keep getting worse and worse and worse, and we actually are, seeing some real problems that can't be handled, like we talked about, the governor might have to, declare a state of emergency, martial law, whatever you want to call it, and maybe there'll be National Guard troops out trying to enforce stuff, I guess. I don't know.
I have to say, though, I hope it doesn't get to that point, because I don't think it's going to end well. If some of the stuff I'm seeing out there in the ether, but some of these people saying, I'm not quite sure if it's going to go well on any. Anyway.
Here's one of the things that I am personally really worried about. We are, because of these orders, and I have seen and been in restaurants that before the complete lockdown order was put in, that I felt were actually very safe to eat in, because it was every other table. There are plastic shields and things put around. People were disinfecting and cleaning everything as much as possible. Yeah, is it more problematic to be inside a building than outside? Possibly. But I felt fairly safe eating in these places. And one of the things that really worries me is that unless we keep small business running, what's going to happen to the economy? We keep printing money, and we keep giving stimulus checks, and we keep doing all of this, and I don't care how bad it gets. There's got to be a point where we still keep construction going. We still have to go to the stores and get our food. That means the truckers and all the warehouse workers have to keep working. We have to keep everything going. If we get to a point where it gets so bad that we're declaring emergencies and we're doing all these things, there won't be any economy. We're going to come into a depression like hasn't been seen almost ever.
It's like the old adage: which worse, the cure or the disease?
Exactly. It's not going to be good. People have to start taking responsibility. Let's do the right thing. Let's keep the country running still.
I think.
I don't know.
And I don't mean to cut you off, but one of the things I've been thinking about this a lot is I think I think this was handled poorly from the start. And
I don't disagree with you.
My thought on that is this: they said it in such negative tones. And I think the reason, and I'm Mr. Negativity here, so usually it doesn't bother me, was the fact you had people in charge saying super negative stuff, and then you'd hear them say, don't wear masks and don't wear that, instead of I think if they did the moment of hope type of thing, if you had the president, whoever say, look, this is going to be a long, hard road. Like one of the things I got to praise Obama for, I may not be a big fan of his policies, but as an orator, he had an amazing ability to draw the audience. Wrestling 101 type of stuff. So if you had somebody say, this is a long, hard road, but we can do it, but you very positive, very loving, but very, very this, that, and then was transparent about the mask. So at first they said, oh, you don't need a mask. And the reason why allegedly was because we were short on N95 because of shenanigans. So instead of saying, don't buy N95 and level 3 masks because of blank, there was no transparency. There was no hopeful message. And then all of a sudden at some point they said, oh, we're going to give you a stimulus. It's going to be great. And it's just like, no, it won't be great, because now you're robbing Peter to pay Paul without any sort of positive message. You're just telling me to go out and fucking spend because you think it's going to make me feel better by some random retail therapy out of an item I don't need, or I'm paying my fucking bills with it. I got a car payment to do, and I haven't had a job in 6 months. I think, and Newsom, I thought, did a decent job at the beginning because I thought he was doing his best to be hopeful. You listen to some of his early stuff, I'm like, I don't like the guy, but he's doing a good job. Now I think it's all political talking points. I think it's gone past we the people, that we the Democrats, we the Republicans, and this is the part that pisses me off the most, is you have no fucking hopeful message, and you can be hopeful and real at the same time. I don't think you can. I think you can tell people the truth and be honest about it, but be, loving, like the fireside chats type of thing.
Well, we kind of danced around this issue before, and we'll still keep it because we don't want to get too political on this whole thing. But
we could say it's the era. It's the era of Trump. I'll break the rule. It's the era of Trump, where whether you like the guy or not, whether good thing or bad thing, everything Trump was bad. So even if he did something good, by the way, I think he royally fucked this up. And if you think I'm wrong, fuck you. I don't actually care.
Well, I know why he did it the way he did it. He just personally, I think almost everybody in the country, for the most part, agrees that he went about it the wrong way. He was trying to say, let's not panic. Let's not, stop the economy. Let's not, so I understand the direction he was going in. But you're right. He handled it completely wrong. And you know what? And to this point, still he's denying the fact that he lost the election. And come on, guy, just, you're fired. I'm sorry, just like your show.
And I think the other thing, and this is a holistic, everybody fucked up, is the problem with Trump. The most amazing thing about Trump, and something I legitimately think they're going to teach classes about in the future, is his ability to control the narrative. Was masterful and literally amazing. He could control the media cycle by saying one thing, and he could do whatever he wanted, and nobody would ever pay attention. I'm waiting for 10 years from now to see what he actually did.
Well, if it wasn't for Twitter, we would probably not know anything.
And the negative side is the Democrats, even if he did good, it's bad. And so you heard that narrative. So you had all these forces happen at once during a really bad time. And you even had the Democrats going, oh, I don't want to do the stimulus now because we really want this election cycle. This was politics. This is American politics 101. You had a bunch of greedy people who, instead of wanting to do what's right, die on their sword and saying, okay, we're going to lose this election. Let's make sure we can help the country out. And that's my honest opinion. I think we got fucked by the people we vote for. And I've met most of the people I've met for and didn't like most of them.
You met for? You mean you voted for?
Yeah, I've met for, voted for. I'm just pissed off. This whole thing that pisses me off. And the reason I'm pissed off is you've got a high rate of suicide in children. There was a local kid around here that killed himself and made a YouTube video about it. This whole thing, the kids, ladies and gentlemen, are going to be paying for this for 100 years. If it's not for the giant stimulus, it's going to be for the effect that it has on their education, for their mental well-being. This is going to fuck the future up. All because our congressmen were too busy fondling their schwanzes instead of doing the fucking right thing. Bunch of glad-handing bastards.
And with that,
Yeah.
Come on, top that. Top it.
I can't, I'm not topping
Did you say something?
Here. I'm just good for you, John.
Come on, top it. I dare you, James.
Why?
Yeah.
James doesn't disagree with you either. But I mean, what do you say?
What am I supposed to do?
Yeah, I mean, come on.
Say I'm wrong and
You're wrong.
No,
There you go.
it was
You feel
handled.
better?
It was handled so poorly every which way, and it's still politics. It's just unbelievable. The way politics in this country, it just is not the way the founding fathers expected it to turn out, and we're seeing the reason. We're seeing professional politicians playing the game. And it's very disappointing. It's disappointing in the whole process.
They're playing a game when they shouldn't be playing.
Exactly.
Right.
That's the issue.
And I also think, and I could be wrong here, but I don't believe I am. We're in a post-forgiveness world where everybody, at least in America, everybody is supposed to die on their sins constantly. They're always supposed to bring it up. They're supposed to be woke about it, constantly feel guilty. And I think that doesn't help because now everybody has that mindset that, okay, this dude fucked up. Move on. What do we do? Keep moving. And I don't know. I just think the society we have now is just in trouble if we survive it. Because when I was a kid, James can contest this. The old guy can, is when you said you're sorry, it's buried. You if you love somebody, you fight with them and you fight for them. And instead, it's you don't do that. You keep bringing their sins up and to make sure they feel guilty, so they can never move forward. I know I was really hoping to do a very positive show, but I'm so pissed off it this year, and I'm usually the one that does most of the talking.
So I think we got your point.
So anybody have any happy things to say? Let's end this on a happy thought. Come on. Rob, you first. Okay, James, somebody, come on.
We talked about, my happy thought was talking about Escape to the Chateau.
Okay, James, what's your happy thought? Or did you lose your marbles?
Zombies are coming.
Zombies are coming. Yeah, we're waiting to see what's going to happen with the second dose now on the vaccine that's being out, and let's see if The Walking Dead comes true.
Jeez. So my happy thought is grab a bottle of vermouth, add a little bourbon and simple syrup, and a dash of Angostura bitters, and I hope you have a wonderful evening. As always, thank you for listening.
Goodbye.